District, and I'm joined by the finance team, board member Brenda Wolf, several staff members. Are there any other board members on the call today or on the webinar? All right, hearing none. I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Wolf and let her to say a few opening remarks about the budget process and the board priorities. Ms. Wolf.
Thank you, Brian, and good evening to everyone. Glad you could join us this evening. As they say, I know there are many other things that you could be doing. So welcome to the first of 5 community forums that we're going to hold over the next few weeks for the Board of Education and our district leadership to gather input as we develop the fiscal year FY25 operating budget for Montgomery County Public Schools. You know, we're nearing the end of our first reporting period for the 23-24 school year. No sooner than we finish one budget, though, we always have to start another. And so that is what we're in the process of doing now. It is a year-round process. It's important for us to hear from the community as we approach the time that the budget is due to be submitted to the county council. The superintendent will submit her budget to us in December, and we will submit our budget approved, the one that we adopt, to the county council in February. This budget supports approximately 162,000 students who attend our 211 schools. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what's working and what's not working, what we need to keep in our budget, what we need to prioritize, and what we might need to think about removing because it doesn't seem to have the desired effect. It's important right now to the board to do this because, as you know, our ESSER funds are ending. Those are the federal funds that we got during the COVID years. They will be ending, and we need to know the programs that are being supported by it, in particular, which ones we should think about prioritizing. It's important for the board and the district to make smart decisions because the county's funds are limited, and you know we are the largest of the funding part that they have. And so we have to be particularly accountable for what we're doing with our funds. So this evening's community budget forum and the remaining 4 forums are an excellent way for us to hear from you as decisions are made regarding the operating budget. So again, thank you for joining us this evening. And I'm going to turn it back over to you now, Brian.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Wolf. That's a wonderful introduction. So this is the first of 5 budget forums that we're going to be having today, this year. And unfortunately, the superintendent, Dr. McKnight, is unable to join us today. So I'm going to say a few words on her behalf. But this is an exciting time of year as we start looking at what resources we need for next year. But it is also a little bit frightening because as Ms. Wolf alluded to, it's going to be a difficult budget year. We know that we're coming to the end of our federal ESSER funds. In addition to that, there's additional costs to the county for required blueprint implementation. And we were actually at the county council earlier today talking with them, and they made clear their concerns around the overall county budget and some of the challenges that they're foreseeing as they move through their budgeting process, which of course impacts us. So we really want to hear from you all and from our community around what are the top priorities? What are the things, even though, you know, we may not have a lot of new money to be adding new things, we have about $40 million of high priority needs currently on ESSER that we need to move over, and significantly more than that in total. And so working with the community to determine, you know, what those top priorities are and what needs to be prioritized as far as maintaining it goes is going to be absolutely critical to the budget development process. And so as we dive in here, we really want to make this a more as interactive as possible. So I'm just going to talk through about 3 slides here really quickly to lay the foundation for where we're at and where we're going with today's conversation. Then we're going to break out into small groups and really provide some opportunity for discussion and feedback from the participants. Then we're going to come back together as a larger group and kind of share out what was discussed in each of the breakouts. And then Mr. Riley, our Associate Superintendent of Finance, will conclude with a few slides around what's coming next, what the timeline is, how members of the community can continue to be involved in the process and have their voices heard. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So the funding for MCPS comes in 3 general buckets. The first being the operating budget, and this is the budget that supports the day-to-day operations of the school district. So it includes all of our salaries, benefits, and the associated costs of actually running 211 schools across Montgomery County. We also have a separate, but also very important capital budget, and that is used for new school construction, maintenance of existing buildings, and improvements wherever possible and necessary. Finally, we have the independent activity funds. So these are funds that are raised through the school, mainly by ticket sales, fundraising, and other such activities. So those funds are housed at the schools. They help pay for things like extracurricular activities, field trips, etc. So if we could go to the next slide. Today, we're focusing on the operating budget. We actually are looking at the capital budget this year as well, and we will have separate work sessions with the Board of Education, and we will have separate public hearings where we encourage folks to come out, discuss the needs at their individual schools or district-wide around the facilities and any opportunities that people see there. But today, we really want to focus on the operating budget because that is where we're moving through with the Board of Education and the superintendent right now. And so this is where your input is going to become really valuable as we get closer to December and the release of the superintendent's budget. That'll happen in early December before it moves over to the board for their consideration and possible amendments as well. Next slide, please. So we worked very closely with our Board of Education this past winter and spring. Really appreciate their support and the support of the County Council in funding the largest ever increase for Montgomery County Public Schools. We received about $245 million of new money on top of the FY23 budget, or about an 8% increase. And that was absolutely critical because we know that we are in competition with school districts across the state and across the country for a limited number of teachers, leaders, and support staff. And so the vast majority of that $245 million increase, about $200 million, went directly to employee compensation and improved working conditions through our negotiations with our 3 association partners. And while 8.4% is a very substantial increase, it was much needed. As I'm sure most of you know, inflation, general inflation throughout the country was running at nearly 8% last year as well, which means that our employee contracts increased by a similar amount, right in that ballpark. And then the supplies, the fuel for our buses, the food for our schools also increased by around the same amount last year as well. Just like when you go out to eat or go to the grocery store or fill up your tank of gas in your family car, you experience similar increases. And so while it was a very substantial increase, and we greatly appreciate the support of the Montgomery County Council, it really kind of kept us where we needed to be, kept us competitive with other local school boards. But here we are again, as Ms. Wolf stated, looking now at FY25 and what we're going to need there to not just maintain what we're doing, but really capture some of the priorities that we hope to hear from this group tonight. In addition to that, every year, from year to year, there are enrollment changes, not just overall, but in certain groups, whether that's emergent multilingual learners or other groups receiving additional services. So some of the examples of things that we were able to increase last year, and the first two here that are bolded are part of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. So these were required by the Blueprint. But the district is now paying, and this is wonderful, the district is now paying for AP and IB exams and dual enrollment for any of the students in our district who choose to participate in those programs. So there would be no fee to the students, and hopefully that's removing one of the barriers to entry. We also had a significant increase in our preschool program, or our PEP program, where we were able to add some additional slots for our youngest learners there. This also is a requirement of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, where over the next several years, we'll be expanding pre-K county-wide so that every student across the county has access to early education. And we believe that's going to be a game changer for our families and our students. In addition, we were able to fund some key initiatives in the area of math and literacy. The Board of Education made it very clear that this was one of their top priorities last year. And so we worked with them to amend the proposed budget to make sure that we were including the additional supports that our students needed around these two critical areas. We all know the importance of every subject beyond math and literacy, but the foundations of literacy and math, especially at the early ages, is absolutely critical to the ongoing and future success of our students. Additionally, we were able to add new English language development teachers, and this was in response to the growing EML population that we have throughout Montgomery County. This is actually the fastest growing subgroup of students that we have. And so making sure that we're able to invest in additional supports for those students who may not speak English as a first language is absolutely critical to their success, and making sure that we're providing our students and our teachers the resources that they need to be successful. Finally, we made some key improvements to our athletics program. We are now able to provide one full-time athletic trainer at each of our high schools. And so this improves not only the health and safety of our student athletes, but is able to provide a more well-rounded program from top to bottom for our athletics. And then I guess the last piece here, we also added some supports around human resources and security assistance in our schools. And we've already seen the benefits of some of those investments as we opened the school year, more than 99% funded, 99% staff for our teachers and certified professionals. And then, of course, the security assistance, which is one key aspect to providing a safe, welcoming learning environment for our students. Next slide, please. All right, so as we look at the so that was FY24. That's the budget that we are currently implementing. So all of those supports we talked about around math and literacy, additional security, etc., those are just now entering our schools and, as of the beginning of this school year, touching our students. And so as we continue the implementation of the FY24 budget, making sure that we're reaching the students we need, seeing the impact on student learning that we anticipated when we put those in the budget ask. We are now already looking at our FY25 budget. And so the board has set out some very clear priorities and that slightly refined from the priorities from last year, similar, but slightly refined. So again, we see the first one here, improving math and literacy rates. As we have shared our data with the Board of Education, there's some very exciting gains in some areas and, frankly, some disappointment in other areas where we know that we need to do better for our students. And so this remains a top priority for both the superintendent and the Board of Education. The next piece is well-being and family engagement. So the board set out two clear priorities in this area. The first one, building a safe and inclusive school climate. Again, this was a similar priority last year, which is why we were able to add some additional security personnel, but it remains a challenge. And one of the things that we hear often from our students, whether it is around, in school or extracurricular activities, making sure that people feel safe, people feel welcome, that there's not the bullying, there's not any of the other distractions from learning in the way. And then the second board priority around this area is to support two-way communication between schools and family. And so this is another piece that both the board and the superintendent have identified as critical areas. Rebuilding trust, communicating with our schools. We as a school system have our students for about 6.5 hours a day, 182 days a year. And so we alone cannot do it alone. We need the support of our communities. We need the support of our families. And the only way we can accomplish that is through clear, consistent two-way communication. So this is a top priority, as I said, of both the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools. Fourth and finally, professional and operational excellence. So as the Chief Operating Officer, this is very close to my heart, making sure that we are providing excellent services to all of our students and all of our teachers. We know that the magic happens in the classroom. The number one predictor of student success is a high quality teacher. And so we want to make sure that we are providing the conditions to recruit, retain, distribute a high quality workforce across Montgomery County. We're a big and a very diverse school district with varying needs across all of our schools. And so making sure that we are addressing those needs through recruitment of high quality staff, safe and welcoming learning environment, clean and safe schools is absolutely critical. Next slide, please. Okay, actually you can go back one. We're going to come back to this one at the end. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Riley to talk a little bit about the next steps in the breakout rooms that we're going to get into. But this is going to be the interactive piece. And so as you find yourself in your breakout room, please speak up, share your thoughts. We really want to hear from you, and the input that you provide in this session will be invaluable as we move through the process of building the budget. Mr. Riley?
Thanks, Brian. And I think if it's queued up, we were going to do the video first to give everybody a preview of the new video that's going to be on the website.
Every day, MCPS welcomes more than 162,000 students to its schools. And we work hard to provide the instruction, services, and opportunities our children need to be successful. We do this through our operating budget, which pays for the staff, resources, and materials our schools need. It is important that our community understands how the MCPS operating budget is funded, how the money is spent, and what that looks like in your child's school. About 63% of the MCPS budget comes from Montgomery County, while almost 30% comes from the state of Maryland. Nearly 4% is provided by the federal government. The remaining 3% comes from our enterprise, special revenue, and fund balances. When enrollment grows, MCPS receives additional funds. But those additional dollars do not cover the full cost of providing an education to a larger number of students. So how is the money spent? The vast majority of the MCPS budget goes exactly where you would expect, into the classroom. For every dollar in our budget, more than 80 cents is spent on instruction, including teachers, staff, instructional materials, Chromebooks, and program supplies. About 14 cents of every dollar goes to other services for schools like bus transportation for more than 100,000 students a day, and employees who keep our buildings clean, safe, and well-equipped. Less than 3 cents of every dollar is spent on system-wide support, or what some people call central services. The remaining 3% supports our enterprise funds, like our food service fund. Percentage-wise, MCPS has one of the smallest central services allocations in the state of Maryland. But this small, hardworking team does crucial work, including hiring, teacher and staff training, and providing direct support and oversight to our 211 schools. It's important to understand that education is a people business. That's why more than 90% of the MCPS budget is spent on salaries and benefits for the outstanding educators, support professionals, and administrators who serve our students. So what does this look like in our schools? MCPS provides staff and resources to schools using formulas that are based on the school's enrollment and the needs of its students. As you would expect, larger schools will get more staff. For instance, in elementary school, we have a class size guidelines of 24 to 28 students per class, depending on the grade level. Let's say a school has 96 third grade students. That school would receive 4 fourth grade teachers. But if third grade enrollment grows to 120 students, 4 teachers just won't be enough. So that school will be given a 5th teacher to keep class sizes at 24 to 28 students. In this case, the class size would be 24. But our budget formulas also take into account the needs of students. For instance, class sizes in kindergarten through grade 5 are lower in elementary schools that serve a greater number of students living in poverty. And schools that have more emergent multilingual learners get more staff to make that happen. To see how this works, let's take a look at 2 elementary schools that both have about 600 students. School A has a relatively low percentage of students receiving free and reduced price meals, or FARMs, which is an indicator of poverty. The school also has relatively few students who receive English Language Development, or ELD, services. School B has about the same number of students, but has a much higher percentage of students receiving FARMs and a much greater number of EML students. As you can see, School B receives about 20 more positions than School A. This includes additional classroom teachers who help keep class sizes lower, academic intervention teachers who provide focused support to students who are struggling, additional ELD teachers to help a larger number of students learn English and keep up with their academics, and additional educational assistants, also called paraprofessionals, who work directly in the classroom. It works similarly in middle and high schools too. Staff is provided to schools based on enrollment and need. This often means that schools with higher poverty have 15 to 20 more positions to lower class sizes in core classes and to support students with interventions needed to improve achievement. There are other ways that schools are provided staff and resources. For instance, special education staff is assigned based on the individualized needs of students. Also, a school may house a choice program and will receive additional staffing and resources. This is just an overview of a process that happens throughout the year and involves MCPS staff, parents, students, and community members. Visit the MCPS website to learn more about the operating budget and how you can get involved in ensuring our schools have the resources needed to serve all students.
All right, hopefully everybody enjoyed that. As I mentioned, it's going to be on our Budget 101 website, along with a wealth of information on there regarding our budget. There may be a test at the end of this webinar. We'll let you know. Only kidding. So I'm actually going to introduce the Director of Management and Budget, Ms. Alfonso Windsor, to go over our breakout activity.
Good evening, everyone. So we are going to go into breakout rooms. There are going to be 3 breakout rooms. Group 1 and Group 2 are going to be led in English. Group 3 is going to be led in Spanish. When they provide us the information or the links for the breakouts, please select the breakout room that you would like to join. Once we get to the breakout rooms, the facilitators will share information and we'll start the discussion for us to get your feedback. I hope everybody has a fruitful conversation. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully that was interesting and you had an opportunity to share some of your thoughts and maybe learn something else from one of the other members of your breakout room. So I'm going to ask Mr. Riley to come back on and take us to the next portion of the presentation.
All righty, so now we're going to share out what we heard in the breakout rooms. Just one of the I saw in the chat before our breakout room closed. So our current operating budget can be found online under operating budget. I had mentioned the Budget 101 website. That's where you can find the video. But anything to do with budget, it's either going to be under the operating budget link or Budget 101, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But since I guess I have the mic right now, I'll start sharing what came out of our group, which was group number 3, I think. So we kind of looked at the 3 questions: what's working? In other words, what do we want to maintain? We looked at what can be improved or changed, and then what wasn't considered. We didn't have any discussion on that last topic, but we had good discussion on what's working. One of the things that we were saying was our ESY schools, and there was questions about is that considered to be expanded? We did talk that there is going to be evaluation data coming out in the near future, but that is something that one of our participants was interested and was promoting, saying that it was working. Another item we talked about was our well-being supports. So as was mentioned in our group, I don't know if it was mentioned in all the groups, that is some of our well-being supports, such as some social workers, are currently in ESSER. So there was folks advocating that we should make sure that we bring those back from ESSER into the operating budget. And then we also had discussion in this area about remediation efforts for COVID learning loss. And we wanted to make sure that those continue as well. For what can be improved, we had discussions about what can we do to try to recruit and retain more teachers. We're not 100%. We do have vacancies. So in the discussion, we revealed that we had a large increase for teachers, and that has made us a lot more competitive with our neighboring districts, and it's also helped us to meet our blueprint requirements. But that's one of the things that we want to continue to improve, is to try to continue to recruit and retain more high qualified teachers. Also, too, for improvement, there was discussion about extending the equity and well-being office, more staff to kind of help promote that work-life balance. So we had discussions about that too. But that was it went pretty quick. We had good discussion, but the time did go quick. So that's what we had from our group. Molly, were you the other facilitator?
Yes.
You want to share up?
Yeah, we're group 4 as for what's working. We discussed a very positive note about parent being very grateful for having a PCC support. She named a specific PCC, Maria Romero, who's culturally connected, who was a bridge to the community. So that was very helpful. So keep that. Chromebooks were helpful for our students. Mental health and social emotional support was just very good. So we should maintain that. Well-being supports for students are a huge plus, as well as social workers. And as far as the changes goes, what should be improved? Meals, healthier meal options for our students. Box flights, maybe we consider streamlining or using funds for other items. We now have a lot of consulting teachers, so maybe they need more support, increase, streamline, and leverage tutoring programs. For those tutoring programs not being used, shifts dollar to academic enrichment and as a holistic tutoring program. streamlining and identify programs that support academic programs and social emotional well-being of our students. As far as to change, stop, or maintain, expanding mental health support for students. Their program to consider for attendance, we discussed that. Our box lights are worth the cost. Maybe we should consider using that technology, revisit that. Align instruction. Let me look at my notes here. What is a good balance using technology instead of paper? There should be a good balance between some paper work and computer technology work, not just all papers, not just computer technology, but parents would like to see some balance in between. Solicit community feedback through honest engagement, ask schools what they need, ask individual schools what they need, because each school's different and their needs are different. So that was from our group 4. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. And then the last group, Yvonne, are you sharing that out or?
Yes, I will share on the Spanish group, and I want to thank the group for the parents for joining us and for sharing their thoughts. They talked about what's working. They did want to congratulate MCPS on the work that we're doing, in terms of the organization and the budget and so on. And they wanted to also thank the teachers in MCPS, and they wanted to share that they're so glad that we are supporting the teachers. That is a priority for our system. So they feel that is really working. One of the parents shared that her son is in the Chinese immersion program, and she feels that is working really well. She enjoys the programs, and she appreciates the teachers in that program as well. She had the opportunity to learn this week about the Eureka Math, and she thinks it is very important. She would like to have the opportunity to learn more about it, but she also wondered, in terms of that program and in terms of other programs, what can be improved or changed. She wondered, what are the quality controls around program evaluation? How do we know that it's meeting its goals, and how do we monitor if it doesn't work and make changes? She wants to make sure that we are considering all of that as we're moving forward when it comes to programs. They did share that they are another parent. One of the students, her son is in a magnet program, and she is thankful for the opportunity that her son had to join that program. But she would like to have access to more after-school programs. They think that is something that the system should be considered, access to more after-school clubs and activities. And also, she wants us to take away that sometimes we need to advertise or promote our after-school programs and after-school clubs more, so that more students enroll for them and have the opportunity and take advantage of those programs. They felt that emotional supports and the technology are critical right now, and that is something that we need to continue maintaining moving forward. In terms of also on what can be improved, they would like to for us to provide the parents more information on how they can support their students afterwards, so that they can help us support their students when they're not at the school. And one of the things that they would like for us to consider, it's maybe reducing the number of seats in the MVA, in the Montgomery Virtual Academy. They are not participating in the Montgomery Virtual Academy, so they didn't want to 100% commit to that, but they feel that moving forward, that might not be as critical for the school system as it was in the past, that those emotional supports and technology are more critical. So all in all, we had a great conversation, and we learned a lot from our Spanish population.
Thanks, Yvonne. Can we bring up the slideshow? And it's actually the last 2 slides. So, yeah, so I kind of wanted to update people on where we were at with the process. So in December, I believe it's either the 13th or the 14th, the superintendent's going to present the recommended FY 2025 operating budget. That's why this engagement was very important and critical. I mean, because for the reasons we discussed, we really do want to know what's working. We want to know what can be improved, but we also want to know other things that are considered. And, you know, we got some feedback on some things that might have to be cut. As Mr. Hull mentioned, we're not going to be able to do everything. This is, you know, we build our budget based on student need, and we ask for a lot from the county, but you know, they're not going to be able to provide us our full funding, especially if they just had a tax increase last year. So that's why these conversations are extremely important. So that's December is the superintendent's budget. The next opportunity for public engagement will be the board will hold public hearings on January 18th and 25th. So if you can sign up for those too, you can share you know, your thoughts at the public hearings as well too, just like you did tonight. And then in February, the board's going to tentatively adopt our FY 2025 operating budget, at which time we send it over to the county executive, and then the county council is going to consider it. So there's more opportunity for public feedback during the months of April and May. I don't think those the county council public hearings are posted yet, but we will have that on our budget website as soon as those dates are made available. And then finally, May 23rd is when the county council is going to vote on our budget. And then on June 11th, our FY 2025 budget will be approved by the Board of Education. So those are the milestones and the steps getting from superintendent's budget to the final budget. Next slide. So I didn't mention, and I thank everybody for their participation. As was mentioned before by Ms. Wolf, this is actually the first of 5 community forums, and you can see there the remaining ones. October 25th, we're going to be in person at Damascus High School. November 8th is going to be a virtual. No, I'm sorry. November 8th is actually the student budget forum. November 14th is going to be in person again. And then actually it's the one additional virtual forum will be on November 2nd. And that's going to be a format similar to what we did here. And then as noted before, you can participate in the public hearings for the board on the 18th and the 25th. And I forget what that's called, but you can take a snapshot of that and it'll take you to our Budget 101 website, where you can find the video that we previewed tonight, as well as you can continue to ask questions on that website too. And we'll get back and answer whatever questions you have that, you know, that either you didn't have time to address tonight, or you know, or if something comes up in the interim, feel free to use that budget question feature on our website. And then finally, the county government opportunities for public, again, as mentioned before, that's going to be in April and May. And then you can check on the screenshot there. You can find more information on the public hearings for that as well too, for the county council. But that should do it. I think we wrapped up a little early there, but I want to thank everybody for the great conversation and great input. It was very, like I said, it's very beneficial as we develop this next year's budget. Any other comments?
Rob, this is Brian. I just, I'll check in a minute here too to see if Ms. Wolf has any final words, but I just would echo what you have already said. Really appreciate everybody being here tonight, and we will take this feedback back and incorporate it with the other feedback that we've received from our budget advisory committee and other community engagements, and work towards you know, an excellent budget coming out in a little less than 2 months. So if Ms. Wolf is still with us, if you have any parting words, otherwise we can wrap up here. And a big thank you to everyone.
I am here. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for taking their time to come out this evening. And I encourage you to sign up to testify at the budget hearings, because we did hear you tonight, but I want the full board to hear what you had to say. So please, I believe Rob posted The exact dates aren't known yet, are they, Rob, or were they?
For the 18th, January 18th and the 25th, I think,
Okay.
was posted.
Please sign up to do public testimony so the full board can share in hearing what you had to say. Thank you and have a great evening.